Welcome back to the channel. It's 1st of April, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Didn't have the best of night's sleep last night myself. But hey, new start, new day, and it's the spring. So it's time to, I think, to start making the garden pretty so we can actually enjoy it, or some of it, the 3 days of sunshine we get over here in Northern Ireland. But first, I think we've got to start the day right. Now, that's how we start. We brew, think about what we're going to do for today. As I said in the intro there, it's the 1st of April, start of summer, or spring at least. Still a bit chilly in the morning, but the days are getting brighter, which means the mood generally starts to get a bit brighter. But if we're going to enjoy this summer, we're going to have to sort the garden out. At the moment, it's a building site, which you'll see. So the plan, the plan is to square the garden away and then start building some garden furniture so we can sit out on the afternoons, the sunny afternoons, and enjoy the summer. Let's get started, shall we? Well, after the brew. If you'd like to see how I made that bench, leave a note in the comments. This is how far we got yesterday. So now it's day 2. I'd like to introduce you to Axel, my German Shepherd dog. Axel helping by whittling down a bit of wood for me. I think we'll call it a day. More work tomorrow. Okay, morning of day 3, and this is what we're up to. So I think we'll just keep going and see if we can get the garden finished today, so we can start on making the seeding and some plants. Come on. Okay, 3 days and that's the garden looking like a garden rather than a building site. Now we'll move on to the garden furniture. Now that we have our long lengths milled down and cleaned up a bit, we're going to cut them to length for the 4 legs of the planter. Now I've set the miter saw at 30 degrees and we're just going to four cuts, turn it around each time, 90 degrees, and it gives us a nice bevel for the top. We'll give that a quick clean up. That gives us a nice bevel for the top, and that's rinse and repeat 4 times, 4 legs. And rinse and repeat until you have your legs cut. Drill with a countersink bit. We can take our marking gauge, mark that across, mark that across, and by going the 45s across that square gives us our centre. To drill and countersink. Like so. And the same on the other side. So we'll use our first one to mark. .45 gives us our centre, and once again drill and countersink. Helps if the drill bit stays in the countersink. Now that we have all 4 legs drilled and countersunk, we can start putting one side together. So placing that like so, and I'm going to use decking screws for this, I think. Now I got these B&M £12 for the box. I think that was a bargain. So laying it flat so it's flush to the floor, we can get our impact driver and get the right tape. Get that squared up and drive it home. Again with this side. Get that squared up. And drive it home. The bottom piece, same again. Line it up. And drive it home. There we are, line it up. And drive it home. There we are. We have one side. There we are, one side made. You will see that these rotate. That you don't need to worry about, because they will not rotate once we put the panels in. Okay, now repeat that for the other side. What I've done with the 2 bottom bits is put a half lap in. Now let me show you how I done that. There's 2 ways to do it with power drills. We've got the table saw method and the chop saw method, and I'm going to show you how easy it is using both. Getting a block of the same thickness, I'm going to move that over to the edge of the saw, so it's just sort of barely kissing it. Bring that back and clamp it to the edge of my fence. Now that should start, which it does, right at the end, and then by the time I'm at the fence, it's the correct width of that. First, what I've done is set up with the mitre gauge on the table saw. Raised my blade to the correct height I want, about halfway through, or just below halfway through. So, and that gives you your half lap. Now, over here on the chop saw, it's the same. What you're doing is you're milling out the bits that you don't want. So, we'll use the same block. Put that down flush first. Yep, 0 degrees. Using the same block, we can mark where we want to stop. Now, about halfway down, and this time what we're going to do is we're going to put the stop, the depth stop, on the miter saw, so we don't chop right through. I'm taking it down, using it until it doesn't go any further, like so. As you can see, that won't go right the way through the back. What we need is scrap bit, bring it out a bit, and then we can go again. And you end up with something like that. And all they do is break out with your thumb. Once again with a chisel. Just clean them up. Like so. And you have half black joint. That sits like so. Okay, now that we have our 4 cross pieces, with the half laps, we can drill and countersink. Okay, now that they're all drilled and countersunk, we can place them on, and again with the decking, we're not going to use the decking screws this time because the decking screws are going to poke right through. We're going to have to use a shorter screw. Now that we have our brace pieces countersunk and drilled, with a bit of a shorter screw this time, so it doesn't go right the way through both pieces. We can see that. Screw them together, and we do the same on the other side. Now we'll flip it over. Do the same on the top. Yeah, if you're thinking that's not exactly the bravest of shouts from a German Shepherd, that's from my other dog, Jesus, who is a Jack Russell Chihuahua cross. So we had to get a Spanish name. And there we have our basic frame for our planter. Now, what are we going to use to bolt it in? I think we'll see if we can get some fencing boards. I think that'll do the trick. Putting in the sides and the bottom, I think this is a perfect job for the shorter pieces of fencing boards that I have lying about. Now I'll give them a quick clean up through the planer, denail them, plane them, make them a little prettier. Doesn't really matter because this is going to be painted anyway. Okay, first things first, I think we'll start with the bottom. So we can take our measurements from it, the bottom itself. Take that over to the chop saw. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. So 3 at that length. There we are. We've got 1, 2. Now, the third one won't fit in. Now, with the bottom here, we're going to need to leave gaps for the water anyway. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a wee trim off each of these. Like so. Now that gives us a wee gap. Now, they are slightly long, so I may have to trim them a bit more. There we are. And once again, just square this up. Now, if you want to check for square, point to point, 71 centimetres, 71 centimetres. There we are, nice and square. We can that gives us our base for the planter. Now all we have to do really is fill in the sides. Now on the sides, with the boards cut to length, we can countersink and do it. Now with these planters, there's either going to be a liner inside or a pot, so we can leave gaps in the side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use an offcut of the fence itself to get my gap. Square it up. And you should end up with something resembling this. No, we've only got to do that 2 more times.